Welcome to episode 2 of Journey and Recovery and Wellness Show. As always, we've got the lovely Mirelle with us. Mirelle Wong Cardoso, decorated counselor, practiced all over the world, legend. And with me as well in the studio today is Jono. Jono's got a great story, an amazing story to tell. So a couple of years ago, he walked in to Journey. And at the time, his life was in a little bit of a dark patch. And fast forward a few years later, and yeah, Jono sits part of the Journey team. So, Jono, welcome to the show. Very happy to have you on. Mirelle, welcome and hello.
Always good to be here.
Excellent, excellent. All right, let's start with Mirelle. Mirelle, how's your day been? And firstly, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. So, what's happening at the clinic?
Chris, I will take out plenty time when it's going to help others. So I'm very happy and pleased to be here today. Today at the clinic, it's bustling, it's busy. We got new people coming in, we got people going out, so the dynamics are shifting a little today. And we've got very happy people and we've got very unhappy people. But that is what this is about. This is the journey. It's going through the emotions, going through the challenges of, someone coming in here and they are, in that dark place. So, yeah, it's bustling today, but it's always good. It's always good.
Excellent, excellent. And Jono, how's your day going and how is it being part of the Journey team?
Yeah, no, today is great. It has been very windy, so it was a bit hard outside because I was outside most of the morning. But other than that, I can't complain. And yeah, being part of the Journey team is something a couple of years ago I would have never ever thought, firstly, possible or thought I would ever even be interested in. But it is an experience of a lifetime. And I say that sounds a bit cheesy, but it's genuine. The amount that I'm able to learn, not just about myself, but about people in general, opens my eyes to another whole world out there. And also, not only am I able to help others that suffered or that are suffering what I suffered, but yeah, it also helps me keep on the straight and narrow, if I may say.
Well done, Jono. So I can recall at the time I was based in Ballito when you came to speak to us and you had gotten yourself into a little bit of a pickle. And the good news, this is the testimony today, is that there's no problem that is unmanageable, unsolvable. There's things that you can do things. You don't have to let it define you and you don't have to let it destroy you. So very happy to see you thriving and doing well. Mirelle, you've also seen a big part of Jono's story. And how does it feel as a counselor to see that progression from patient into working with the team?
I think that it's one of the most gratifying processes is when you see someone come in feeling so hopeless and just struggling to make sense of what's going on with them at that time. And, we spoke about facilitating and helping someone through in our last show, and holding someone's hand and facilitating their growth and believing for them that it is possible for them to grow. And watching that transformation happen is the most beautiful experience. And I think for me, that's one thing I love about my job is, watching someone it's like, you come in and you're not seeing that you're a butterfly. And by the time you leave, you're this beautiful butterfly. But before you become a butterfly, we've got to go through all the pains and the stretches and the struggles initially. But Jono definitely was willing to do the work. And, there were some days where Jono was like, no, I think you guys are off here. But he always asked for help and he always wanted to understand. And I think that's one thing I appreciate about Jono is that Jono's always asking questions. Jono is always willing to learn. And, you know, now that he's in training, it's the questions about why did you guys say that when you said it? How is that shift going to take place with that person? Why did you guys go in the group that way? Was there a reason for why, you know, you put that in place with that person? Like, what are we trying to achieve here? So that's definitely one thing that Jono did when he was in treatment. And now that he's in training, he still has that characteristic about him. And I think that only growth and an increased capacity can take place when you're willing to learn. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done, Jono. Jono, I'm going to give you like a little bit of time now to just explain briefly, start to finish. This could take a few hours. Exactly how everything transpired, how you got to Journey, and how everything began, and how you got to this point now.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so I'll put it in as much of a nutshell as I possibly can. I don't want to take up the rest of your guys' lives. So, okay, so I'm going to say I don't know exactly where it began, but it was many years ago. All right, where it wasn't a substance, it wasn't anything like that. It was my own personal behaviors, and obviously at the time, up until I think my second in Journey, I realized that it was my behaviors, not anything else. So I would always make the wrong decision based on the exact moment. So how I was feeling at that moment, I would go with something that I'm going to say was not quick and easy, but gave me bigger return into no matter what it was. So if it was a business venture, I would just dive in thinking, okay, I know the end result, so that's great. Let me just do it, and then I'll learn on my way. Because obviously, I watch a lot of motivational things. I watch a lot of people that have made it in life, and they all say, jump out the plane and learn and build it, or jump and learn how to fly on your way down. And as I grew up, that was kind of what I believed, is that you can accomplish anything, you just got to go. And I took that literally, unfortunately. And so throughout my life, I kept making those decisions based on the end result instead of looking at the steps needed to get there. I just said, I'm going to start and I'll get the end result straight away. And what that did to me was put me in a position where I now had to make right my mistakes. And as my life grew, or as I got older, those mistakes started compounding. And because I genuinely never wanted to hurt anyone, I would make promises. And those promises were actually just lies, so that I could buy myself time to try and make right what I did wrong. And obviously, as Murphy's Law has it, I couldn't make anything right. All right. So you jump out of a plane and you learn how to build, or you learn how to fly on the way down. That's how that's what I believed. Okay. But obviously the real world doesn't work like that. You need to take little steps to achieve something great. I believed in just that you could do something great without doing the homework first. And which obviously led me to making these big mistakes. I was blessed enough to have a family and some friends at the time that were able to bail me out of situations. But when I look back, I see the same habit or the same pattern of little blowouts here and there, which at the time were big. Don't get me wrong, they weren't small, but they were fixable with my immediate circle. And then just before I came to Journey, it was a buildup of pressure. I was obviously in a very dark place at the time mentally. I felt like I had no one to talk to because on the outside, I was fine. Everyone saw that I was fine. I was great, no problems. But on the inside, I was drowning. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't. Everywhere I turned, my past had finally caught up to me. All my wrongdoings had finally caught up to me. And I want to say, it culminated in this massive explosion. It was a glorious thing, I won't lie, of just chaos. And I could no longer hide behind a mask of everything's going to be all right. And that is the point where I was on my way to a bridge. I had decided probably a couple nights before that this was it. There was no way I could solve this problem. No one could help me. But also at the same time, I was wondering why no one was helping me. Could they not see? The silent cries for help, or the fighting back tears when I talk to people. In my head, I was like, am I not yelling loud enough that I need help? And I was always there to help everyone else but myself. And obviously me telling myself how worthless I am, how useless I am, how much of a disappointment I am, what I've done, no one will be able to forgive me for. I had convinced myself that the mistakes that I had made and the damage that I had caused other people, there was no solution. There was no fixing. And I was on my way to a bridge. I was going to kill myself. That was my decision. And funny enough, in that moment, once I'd made that decision, I was quite calm. There were no nerves around it. It was, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and everything's going to end. I was quite at peace with it. The thinking of my family and my friends that would be left behind, I convinced myself that they would be better off. They wouldn't have to deal with what I'm about to put them through. And that was my decision made. And I was probably 10 seconds away from where I was heading. And I got a phone call from a friend at the time to say, hey, where are we going for a coffee? And he was a good friend. And I said, let me say goodbye. It's a coffee. I'm still doing what I'm going to do. I got to him and he saw that there was something wrong and he asked what's wrong, and I burst out crying. And I told him, I kind of laid it all out. And you know what he said to me was, don't worry, we will sort this out. And that's another thing that I've learned later on, obviously, is that if you ask, there are people willing to help. They might not be able to get you out of that situation, but two heads are better than one. You are able to come up with a solution as long as you're speaking about it, as long as you're honest about it. No one can help you if you're not honest. And so I broke down. And that is also when I found Journey. I looked online I was actually looking for a suicide hotline. And just someone to talk to, someone that I could share what I was feeling with, because the
Can
amount
you
of
remember who took the call? Who you got through to?
No, actually I don't. I remember coming into Journey and seeing you. But I don't remember who took that first call. I'm trying to remember, but no, I don't. But it was, I couldn't, I needed to chat to someone about the pain that I was suffering, that nobody could see. Let me rephrase that I wouldn't allow anyone to see, because that's one thing that I convinced myself of as well, is that no one would care. Everyone's got their own stuff to deal with. My stuff is not that important. And I've been telling myself that for I don't know how long. But my stuff was never important. It was all about everyone else. So why would I care now? And I remember coming into Journey, I think I was like, we had a chat first, and then I think I started crying in front of you as well, Christian. Like, I was a mess. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. And also you said, come in and we'll sort it out. So I said, no problem. I know you doubted me because I said I had to sort out a few things before I came in. And I know, obviously now working there as well, I know you said there's no way this week's coming back. But I said,
Yeah.
I gave you my word. I said, I'll come back. I just need to go do this, this, and this, and I'll come back tomorrow. And you said, no, okay, cool, but there's no chance. And I came back the next day and I was in.
Those are, sorry to interrupt you, but those are the success stories. A lot of the times when someone goes away, fixes what they need to fix, and then they come back in, then you know, right, we're dealing with someone that actually wants help. No one's forcing him. He's come in on his own accord. And that's one of the things that stood out for me and our team was that we didn't have to force you in. It was your decision. I think you were at that stage, you wanted that change. You were tired.
I was exhausted of pretending to be someone else, if that makes sense. Like, I had lost who I was as an individual. And I mean, even now, I'm still finding my way back to myself because it's a process. You don't change 30 years in 2. It takes some time. But that's the beauty of it, is that it is possible. You've just got to do the work. So it was, I was, like I said, I was exhausted of being this person, lying to everyone. And that was my biggest thing, is the lies. Because not wanting to hurt people, but also protecting myself from that confrontation. And then all that did was make the explosion at the end that much bigger. If I had just been upfront from the get-go, things would have worked out very differently. But you know what? I also don't regret it now, because I wouldn't be where I am if none of that happened. So it is bittersweet, because yes, it breaks me to think of what I put other people through. I don't discount what I was going through, because I'm also worth something. I also deserve a happy life. I deserve my dreams and ambitions. I deserve all of that. Doesn't make what I did right. So obviously it breaks me about what I did, and I've got a lot of work to do to make that right. But I'm not going to put my happiness on hold while I do that. That's not fair on me. And as selfish as that sounds, don't get me wrong. I want to make it right, but I must also be happy with myself. And that's the journey that has opened my eyes. I mean, even the first time I went into Journey, so I did 2 stints. The first time I came in, and I was against, let me rephrase being against it. I wasn't against the fact or the idea of me being an addict. I just didn't. 1 month, 2 weeks of my life could make me an addict. And I think it was until the 3rd week that I was inside for the first time where I started looking at my behavior instead of those 2 weeks of my life. Because addiction is not, it's not the explosion. It's a build-up, or it's a compounding of behaviors that lead to that explosion, or lead to picking up a substance, lead to gambling, lead to whatever it is. To me, the addiction is the behavior, and that is what needs to change in order to move forward with life. So when I started looking at addiction from a behavioral point of view, I started accepting my addiction, because that is exactly what it was. And I think in the second stint, I worked on that more than anything else. Because when I left the first time, I wasn't fine. I was in a little bubble I was there for a month for the first time, and hey, it was amazing. Everything on the outside was quiet. I had no phone calls. It was fantastic. I lived in a bubble. I got out, and the world came crashing back. Like it was, it was like I was surrounded by a pack of hyenas, and everyone wanted their pound of flesh. And I think I sat by myself. I isolated hard for about 5 to 6 months. I didn't go back to any behavior because there was no behavior. There was no addiction that I went back to. I literally sat in my own head for about 5 to 6 months, where I started going backwards and started drowning again and started suffering silently again. Because when you get out of rehab, everyone expects you to be better. And you expect it of yourself. I got out, said, hey, I was in rehab. I should be fine now. Why am I feeling like this? Why am I having these voices in my head saying, you are still a piece of shit. You are still worthless. You are still nothing. You don't deserve this. And each day that would compound because I also wasn't doing anything to make my life better. So I think I let it ride for another 5 months or so because I was too scared to pick up the phone and say, hey, guys, I'm still battling. I'm meant to be fine, but I'm not fine. And I think I phoned you, Christian, again. I remember it was a Wednesday. I phoned you. I said, hey, are you guys there? You said, yes. I said, I'm coming to see you. No problem. I came in. We sat down. We had a chat. You and Clive were there. And Clive said, pack your bags, come in. And again, I said, I will be here tomorrow morning. And again, you guys are like, yeah.
Yeah. I want to stop
We'll
you
see.
there because I want to pull Morel in at the moment. But I want you to carry on where you left off.
Yeah.
Morel, so listening to this story from a counselor's point of view, a lot of people out there seem to think that addiction is only substances. So there's two things here. Jono was suffering with behavioral issues. And it was only after being in treatment that he realized the extent of the problem. Like the substances are not the problem. So can you elaborate on everything clinically about his journey and just to educate people at home?
There's such a stigma around addiction that people that struggle with substance abuse will come into treatment and they still don't want to say they're an alcoholic or they're an addict because of the stigma, or because we think, well, if you're an addict, you're the guy that's on the street, and that's where an addict is. But if I can still control it and use every now and again, that doesn't make me an addict because I'm still in control of my life. I still have my family. I still have my job. I still get up in the morning and I still go. But little do people actually know, addiction is about all the inner stuff. Because we take away the substance, we take away the drugs, we take away the alcohol, and you're still left with yourself. And I think one of the other things that we don't talk about enough, or people don't recognize enough, is behavioral addictions. And behavioral addictions are your gambling, sex addiction, obsessions with gym, and what that addiction can do, eating addiction, work. That there's so many behaviors that we can say, listen, you're addicted to that thing. People don't see that smoking and nicotine, cigarettes is an addiction. They're like, oh yeah, I just smoke, but at least I'm not doing that. And being an addict isn't something that is so horrible, And a lot of the times people think, well, addiction is for criminals and addiction's for the guy on the street. Addiction means that. But if someone came and said to you, listen, I'm struggling with cancer, you wouldn't frown upon them, or I'm struggling with diabetes. You wouldn't frown upon that. But the word addiction, I think that's where the impact comes. And so when we talk about behavioral addictions and we talk about an addict's behavior, we're actually talking about the things that you have adopted, the strategies you've adopted, the attitudes that you've adopted, the behaviors that you've adopted, your thinking patterns, and how you manage your emotions so that you can survive. And a lot of the time, these are trauma responses. It's all about surviving. And these behaviors are there initially because it's helpful. We learn these strategies because it's helping us survive in the world. It's helping us connect with people. It's helping us achieve. It's helping us get over our fears, get over our shame, get over how we've broken ourselves down, our self-esteem down. So they aren't harmful initially. But as we grow and life changes and we go through different phases, what was once helpful becomes harmful. All right. So I think that when we look at Jono's journey and what he's shared, he learned somewhere that we just jump out the plane and we see what happens as we go down. We make a plan as we go. We don't need to know the full story. But in that approach, we're just dealing with things as it comes. We're on high alert. We're operating out of a place of anxiety and adrenaline. That does take a lot of our mental and emotional energy. And this are compounds. And I think that's the word you use there, Jono, like everything just compounded. Life just came into such a place that it got so chaotic, it blew up. And what blew up and the unmanageability is that I can't cope anymore. I can't cope with all the pressure. So I need something that's going to help me cope with all this pressure. And for some people, it might be gambling. I'm going to sit in the casino and just play the slots or roulette or whatever I'm going to do because I just want to escape the chaos and make a couple of bucks on the side because the money is going to make everything, fine, fixed. Because this is the word we're looking for, like fix me. And that isn't it. It's if I identify my behavior, I can change my behavior and start behaving in a healthier way because I can care for myself. I don't need to overwhelm myself. I don't need to put pressure on myself. I don't need to break myself down. I don't need to use things externally on the outside to try and fix an inside job. So if I'm feeling less than, I can go to the gym and do all the weights and do all of that and still not be happy because the gym isn't going to fix the loneliness. It isn't going to fix the sadness or the pain and suffering that I've got on the inside. And I think that was why when Jono talks about he left treatment and he was like, I'm still not okay. I'm still not okay. And there's something still wrong and rehab didn't fix me. No, rehab doesn't fix me. Rehab gives me the tools. I've got to use the tools to fix, and it's not even fix. Like I want to scrap the word fix. Rehab gives you the tools to become manageable in life, to manage your emotions, to learn how to regulate your emotions. But you're the one that has to continue doing that. Your journey goes on when you leave the rehab. So I think that with Jono, he needed that experience and come back in for the second stint to go, okay, let me learn how to use these tools properly rather than just go and purchase a whole lot of tools and keep them in my toolbox. I've actually got to use the tools. And I think that people are always looking for advice. It's not external things. It's what do I need to do to take care of me? And it's not selfish. I think that we go around putting everybody else first and we never put ourselves first. We actually put pressure on ourselves or these unrealistic expectations. No, just be me. That's what this process is. And I think Jono got that right the second time when he learned to use the tools. Like, okay, I'll jump out the plane with a parachute this time, but I'm actually going to yank the parachute rather than just jump and just think that the thing's going to open on its own. I actually have to open the thing up. So it is a process, and it is an action process, not a thinking process. We can't think our way out of something that we behaved ourselves into.
100%. Thank you very, very much for clearing everything up. Donna, what I can remember, when you came in, we were looking for a medical problem to solve the behavioral issues. Do you remember that?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because
So you were convinced that there's no way someone without something wrong with their brain could get themselves into that sort of predicament without substances, you were convinced there's something wrong. We went for scans. We went for doctor to doctor to just find, like, basically give you the peace of mind, or you were looking for answers. And at the end of the day, it boiled down to you had to accept that it's who you become. It's not who you are, but that's who it is. So getting back to coming in for the second time, so you can carry on where you left off. And tell us about how you tackled that second part of your journey.
Because then I started looking at things very differently. So when anybody spoke, I would think about how that applied to my life and where I saw myself in other addicts or in other people. And I said, okay, then I saw patterns, and I could see how we lead ourselves down certain roads. And then came the questions on, okay, well, how do I fix that? Or how do I stop doing that? And that's where the team at Journey, I think I want to use the right word, is invaluable. Is that the right word? Or priceless. Let's say priceless, because you can't put
that right.
You know, then they actually are able to work with you, because initially it feels like it's you against them, or you against the world, as it always has felt, you know. But when you see that they are actually on our side, and I know there's an old saying on, it's for married couples, but they always say the way to succeed in marriage is, don't look at a problem like it's you against your wife or you against your husband. Look at it as it's you and your wife or you and your husband against a problem. And I think the same goes for when I went in the second time. I looked at it as, they are my team. They're there for me. So it's all of us against this problem.
The little problem.
And it does become a little problem when you look at it and you say, okay, well, geez, I've got these people that have years of experience, all this knowledge, the insight into me, as much as they have no idea who I am, but they know me. We can accomplish anything. You know, you've just got to give it a bit of time and actually let them do their job. And I know I'm sounding very biased because I now work there, but it is just a fact. Like, don't go to a doctor and say, okay, cool, you tell me I've got the flu. All right, no, I don't agree with you. I think I've got something else. Whatever. He's the professional. You go and he says you got flu. You say, okay, doc, give me what I need. However, we come to rehab and we told, okay, this is your problem. And we're like, no, that's not it. You're wrong. I'm sorry, but that again is the addict or the behavior talking, because but also it's a weird one, because I already viewed myself as nothing. I already viewed myself as worthless. Now I've got an expert team telling me that, cool, I've got a problem, and yet I'm saying, no. I'm okay being worthless. I'm sorry, but that is how it starts. You know, that's where you are. But when you give in to it, and when you say, you know what, okay, you guys can actually help me, beautiful things can happen. And that's what happened the second time I went in. I started to work with you instead of myself and let you try work on the side. I don't want to say against, because I don't think I ever worked against you, but it was more, you guys do what you do, cool. I'm still going to try to do what I do here, But the second time it was like, okay, we're a little family now, let's do this together. And by the time I got out the second time, nothing was fixed. So I still had the world pressure when I went out, but I had a shield in my one hand, and I could then look at it from a healthier position and say, okay, firstly, can I fix it now? No, I can't. Cool. It's not going to take up space in my head. And I was about to say control, and I was going to get to control just now. But that is also how I managed to get through to where I am today, is by looking at things in a way of, am I able to change anything about that situation right now? If the answer was no, there's nothing I can do about it right now, then there's a little saying, it is what it is. Unfortunately, that is how I looked at a whole lot. I will get to it eventually, but for now, it is what it is. Whatever happens, there happens. I cannot control it. I cannot change that outcome. It doesn't take up any of my time in terms of in my mental, in my head, because that being inside my own head is where all the problems began. That is where I started thinking, oh, I have to fix it now, even though I know I can't, but I had to. So I would do whatever I could to try to fix it. And that's where all the problems came from. But when I got out the second time, it was more, cool, I can't do anything about it. It's going to park there until I can do something. And then little by little, I can start making changes of what I can actually change or control. But control is a big word. And it's a word that me as an addict, I thought I could control everything, every outcome, every emotion, not my own, but of everybody else. I thought that I could control the weather at that time. And if it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, I'd be like, oh my word, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? But I've got no right in controlling anything or trying to control anything other than myself. And that is what Journey has taught me, is that what you think or what you say has absolutely nothing to do with me. That's on you. What I say and what I think, that has got to do with me, and that is what I can control, and that is what I focus on. And to look at life in a way that in that way makes things a whole lot clearer, a whole lot brighter. And now when I wake up in the morning, yes, I'm grateful to still be here. Like, I know I was 10 seconds away from death, and I literally was. If I didn't get that phone call, they would have had to dig me out of the floor somewhere. But it was. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for my family that has been supporting me. I'm grateful to the team that has stood by me, and now they are standing beside me as I go through my training at Journey as well. And the knowledge that I've gained, don't get me wrong, I don't know everything, and I still have crap days. Like last night was a crap night. I was lying in bed, and seen lawyers yesterday for a few things, but we also talked about my situation. And last night I was lying in bed, and obviously it brought up everything, because I don't want to lie again. Like, that is one thing I'm trying to be like very firm on, even if it's to like not hurt someone. I'd rather tell the truth now, even as difficult as it is, because it's like I said, you're not going to change 30 years worth of behavior in 2 years. So it's something you've got to be very intentional about. But yeah, I was lying there last night, and I just thought of everything that I'd done. And I was tossing and turning, trying to get comfortable, but it wasn't working. So I sat up, And I took 3 deep breaths, and I just said, okay, why am I feeling like this? And I said, okay, I saw the attorneys today, so everything had come back. And I said, all right, is there anything I can do about any of it right now? And I said, no. Okay, cool. I said, is whatever can be done being done about it? The answer is yes. Cool. Took some more breaths, had a cup of water. I lay back down and I was calm. Woke up this morning feeling fresh. And that is what Journey gives you. Like Mirelle said, the tools to be able to do that. Instead, in the past, if I felt like that, I would act in the wrong way and blow something up. Whereas now I took an extra second just to think, why am I feeling like this? What am I feeling? Okay, cool. And what's the next step? Not what's the end, what's the next step right now? And that's the beautiful thing. Life is beautiful. And we have the opportunity to rebuild our lives in a way that we want. It doesn't matter what we've done. All right. That will always be a part of our history. Okay. It will always be a story we can tell, but it doesn't have to define who we are today. And I think that is the most beautiful thing about a turnaround or a redemption story. It doesn't matter how bad you think you were, or even that you were. Today, right now, you can make a decision to say, I'm not that person anymore. I'm going to take the next step forward in the right direction. And each day after that, I'm going to just keep on getting better. And that is the thing that I want each and every person suffering anything to take away and to remember and to hold on to, is that hope of knowing you are in control.
Brilliant, Jono. That's exactly that. That it's one decision away from changing your life. And we all the time, a lot of people go through life and they never have that opportunity to come into treatment. And I think your story is one of those, because most people in your instance, I don't think would have reached out like you did. Yes, that day where everything was lost and there was no substances involved, but you felt that hopelessness. I just want to point out, you made the call, and that's vital. It is essential to make the call. You don't have to do life alone, ever. So you got the call, you got help, and today there's a message of hope and you're thriving. Now, someone like Mirelle gets to see that day in and day out. Sometimes there's success stories, sometimes it is what it is. But I don't think there's anything more fulfilling in life, Mirelle, than working with people that respond to treatment. Tell us about that.
A lot of what Jono's experiences is what everybody that walks through these doors has experienced. And some have the privilege of walking through these doors to learn who they are, to learn that, wait, actually, I am important. There is more to me than what I've been believing about myself. And there are so many people out there that don't have that privilege of walking through the door and learning. But we're here waiting for them to walk through the door. And I think for me, hearing people talk about, I was so hopeless and in such a dark place, and I didn't believe that I was worth it. Today, I believe that I'm worth it. So much so that I believe other people are worth it, and I want them to believe that they are worth it. And I think that I wouldn't see myself doing anything but this, because I have such a blessed life watching people turn around. And yes, sometimes we don't have success stories. And I think that is the other side of addiction, is the people that come in and they struggle to see themselves the way we see them. They struggle to see their worth. They struggle to see that they deserve live and to have happiness. Some people come in and they struggle to get comfortable in happiness or get comfortable in peace. And it's heartbreaking for us to watch that process. But again, we're only able to control what we can control. And we can't force people to do things. We can't control people. We can't control events. And as much as Jono would like to control the weather, we can't control the weather. And so if I can't control the weather, I definitely can't control a person. But the privilege of holding someone's hand as they try, at least try, and the celebration of life thereafter it's such a blessing and such a privilege to experience. It really is. And I just love having Jono around because
Brilliant.
one, we've seen his growth, but he's finally enjoying his own personality. He's finally enjoying just who he is without trying to please people or trying to get people to affirm him by just giving and giving and giving. It's like you can just be yourself and we're still going to love and care for you. So it's lovely. It really is.
Excellent. Okay, guys, I see we're running out of time, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you very, very much, Morel and Jono, for coming in and telling the story. Jono, I hope you're going to be a regular as the weeks and months go on the show. Just to, I don't think there's never enough time to get everything out. Someone's life story is their life story. But the nice thing is today was a message of hope. You're doing well. You're shining. I remember the first time we bumped into each other, we sat on the roof at Journey, and I said, Jono, there's something innately special about you. Like, you're going to do great things. I didn't know what at the time, but you can just see that someone's got it. And yeah, you are sitting today and you're giving back and you're helping people. And I think it's one of the most rewarding and valuable things that you can do. And it's only through going through that darkness do you now have the tools to learn how to cope with life, number one, and how to pass that message on to everyone else and help. Because there's so many people out there, everyone is suffering with something. So guys, thank you so much for being on the show. Morel, thank you. Thanks for those words of wisdom. And guys, we'll see you next episode.
Awesome. Thanks. Have a good one.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.